Good afternoon, student. This is the first part of the chapter People as Resource, Class 9, subject Social Science. Before I start explanation of this chapter, student, I would like you to take back to the first chapter, Story of Village Palampur, and I want to remind you that there was a heading organization of production in which we made a discussion that there are four factors of production: land, second was labor, third was capital, physical capital, with two subcategory, fixed and working capital, and fourth was human capital. If you remember, at that time I made the point clear that this human capital, about human capital, we shall make discussion in the next chapter. It was also mentioned in your textbook. There was also a box in the chapter Palampur about a farmer Gobind. Let me remind you quickly. He was the farmer with 2.25 hectare of land. He had three sons, and it was discussed that his family was somehow managing to survive along with one buffalo who was able to fulfill the family requirement of food. It was discussed that once he died, his land got divided into three parts. Each land was now reduced to 0.75 under the control of every child. What it signified at that time, it signified that the land, if 2.25 was not good enough, you can easily understand that now for the survival of the family of Govind's children, 0.75 hectare was also not sufficient. It was rather lesser than what Govind's was acquiring. Because of that, we could understand that such a situation exists in the village where land size is fixed but population continue to rise, and that's why people migrate from rural area to urban area, and that's why they are compelled to live in the slums of the big metropolitan cities. Taking from this example, where we realized that our large population, be it for rural area or for urban area, has become liability or a burden. It has become liability or burden because we continue to think that for such a huge population, how we are going to arrange food, how we are going to provide them medical facility, how we are going to provide education to all. But in this chapter, People as Resource, we would start thinking that in a opposite manner, that if our population is liability or a burden, what can be done and how something can be done that our population become our assets. That is our important area. And in the first paragraph, your book has made that if we make investment in the field of education, training and medical care, the same population which so far has remained burden and its negative side has been only considered can become our assets, because it is assumed then that population, that particular population will become our human capital. That was your fourth point of the factor of production in previous chapter. Your book is mentioning that what is human capital. In the first paragraph, it is mentioned that it is the stock of skill and productive knowledge at present is considered to be human capital. You must have noticed that in the first four factor of production, land and physical capital, other the two resources at point number 2 and point number 4, that is labor and human capital, both are human being. And in this category, if one remains only a labor because it is not imparted with the skill and training and education, other become human capital just because of investment of these three things. Again, I'm reminding you, number 1 it is education, number 2 training, and number 3 it is the medical care. Now, after having discussed this, we can say that people as resource. What is people as a resource in the country? So people as a resource in your textbook has been referred as a working population in terms of their abilities and in terms of their productive skills, what they are able to produce, what their ability is after attaining education and training within them, and how much they are healthy to continue provide their services of to themselves and to the society. That is called people as resource. People has become our resource. If people are, if this such a large population of our country, which are so far considered as our burden or our liability, if they become successfully, if we manage to make them successfully a human capital, then people as resource will generate a huge amount of GNP, as it is mentioned in your textbook. Student, I hope that GNP is a new word for you. I would like to tell you that in class 10th, when you will be in class 10, there will be chapter number 2 in which we will discuss GDP and GNP. But for the time being, I am giving you a short definition that GNP means gross national product, and gross national product is nothing but it is the total production in terms of earning of the people who are the national of a particular country are going to be considered. It means you can say that all the national of a particular country, what they earn or what they produce in a single year is going to be added. That is called gross. Gross means total national product. For the time being, this definition is good enough. In the as far as detail is considered, this detail is concerned, we shall be going into the class 10th about what the GDP and what the GNP is. Student, after that we can be making a very good thing, that positive side. Now we are at least assuming that there are positive sides of our huge population, if imparted with education, if imparted with skill. But negative side we still talk about, talking that investment has to be made, making assumption that if investment has to be made in the field of education, training and medical care, it will become human capital, it will be a human capital formation for the country. But does it seems to be so easy? It is not, student. Arranging food for such a huge population in a manner that everybody remains without shortage of food in a longer period of time, everybody get their access to the good schooling system, and everybody get good medical facility whenever there is a requirement, is not an easy job. For this, your book has tried to explain. There is a picture on the very first page. Let me read there. Boy and girl, they are discussing about the nature of human resource. What is human resource? Is it like land or labor? Girl is asking, and boy is saying it is more than that. Why he is saying more than that? Then again girl is asking, what is human capital? Is it like rupee, paisa or dollar? Again boy is saying it is more than that. What does it mean? Let me explain you. Let me take you again back to the chapter Palampur, where we discussed that land, labor, physical capital and working capital are the 4 factors of production. Just imagine, do you think that land is something which can produce any agriculture produce on their own? Until unless the agricultural expertise is being used, labor have provided enough physical work on the field, then only land can give you production. Physical capital, take the example, you have various fixed and working capital, but does it means that it will be producing you something until unless the skill of a person is used? Suppose you are being provided a fixed capital, say a computer, but you don't know how to operate a computer, you don't know how to do work on MS Office, or making PowerPoint presentation, or doing work on the MS Word, or doing work on PowerPoint or Excel, whatever. You won't be able to make the good use of these. So ultimately, labor, manpower, people, whatever you want to say, is more than any of these resources, land or physical capital, because it can make the productive use of this. This is one example for the time being. In the coming part of the chapter, we shall continue to discuss this topic, and few more example I might be taking into consideration. Student, there is another box on the same page where 2 things are being compared, just to help you realize that how human capital formation makes a difference. In this particular box, comparison is being made into the Green Revolution and IT Revolution. Hope you remember Green Revolution. We discussed that after introducing successfully the Green Revolution by the means of high yielding variety seeds, pesticide, fertilizer and various other things like irrigation, we could produce from the same piece of land more than double. That was our success. But how it could happen until unless the human expertise was used to make modern fertilizer, pesticides to deal with the problem of pest, as well as the high yielding variety seed which by nature was supposed to be produced more than the conventional seed. So you can say it was actually the human expertise that made it possible. Similarly, you can say over the last 2 decades we are talking a lot about IT revolution. This IT revolution has changed the game over the last 20 years in terms of productivity in the world, in terms of making the larger production and generating more and more job opportunity. But how it could have taken place again with the expertise what has been imparted among the people, among the human beings, by providing them education and training to do the work in this direction. Now moving to the next page, student, I would like to take you to some of the pictures which are actually being mentioned. These pictures are about you are shown over here pictures of those who are considered to be trained and skilled. The picture of a doctor. I don't think I need to say anything. Across the world right now, it is the fraternity it is the medical fraternity which is doing services. We all are sitting back home in the lockdown period, but it is our doctor and nursing staff which, using their expertise, are providing good health. Possibly what they can do, they are providing to the society. They are proving to be good for the society. Another example of a teacher is there. Teacher is also a skilled person. I gave this example in the chapter 1 that this is why you find a trained person for this. Suppose I gave example, I am teaching you social science. I cannot be expected to teach you another part. I cannot be expected to teach you mathematics or chemistry or physics or any other subject. Reason, I am trained and I have acquired knowledge of this subject so that I can teach you this subject. This is one of the example that in the particular field a required training and educational expertise are required. And there is another picture of a tailor who is also trained to do one thing, that from a piece of cloth he can make trouser or shirt or whatever else you are wanting him to produce for you, to make for you. There is another picture showing that editor is editing the content, means some sort of knowledge is required to this gentleman to do some work. That is how your book has made the point clear about our skill, that as a human being, if we are imparted with these skills, we really become a productive one. To have a better explanation, various examples are also given. Student, you can say that human capital formation is one thing by which we become productive for himself as well as for the society. By going through these examples, by going the example of a doctor or a teacher, suppose if they were not given the training or education, they could have been doing some work of a labor. What is the difference between the point number 2 and point number 4 of the organization of production? Point number 2, as I said, is a labor who is a human being. Point number 4 is a human capital who is also a human being. But the difference is that one finds himself in a good earning capacity. He becomes productive for himself, but at the same time they become productive for the society also in a larger manner. I am not saying labor is not productive for the society. We have already discussed that without labor we cannot make our house, in spite of having whatever capital we have. Whatever capital do we have is not going to make the difference if we don't get the manpower to work for ourselves. Your school, your other institution, all are example. You must have seen that along with the teacher in your school, there are helping staff also what continue to provide various services, and only then it is possible to run a school. Various examples I shall continue to give you. Similarly, a teacher, if teacher is not trained, he could remain only as a laborer and could not be as productive for himself. But at the same time, what I want to say here, that these people who, whether they are teacher, whether they are doctor, whether they are engineer, whether they are scientist, or by any means they are producing good for them as well as for the society. Doctor provide good health to the society. Teacher impart knowledge, training, education to the society. Engineer makes the construction and bring the better infrastructure for the society, and scientists have their role that they continue to make effort. I'm sure right now across the world, people in the field of medical sciences must be making research and development to find the vaccine or whatever medicine can be uh, developed to deal with this COVID-19 situation. You know, I'm giving lot of example of COVID-19 because I don't think I cannot have any relevant situation other than this. Student, because of this, what we have developed, that human capital is always superior. Uh, After having discussed this, human capital is superior in what sense? Because they are invested with education, they are invested with training and medical care, and it can make use of other product. As I said, land. Again, taking an example, not land. Suppose there is enough land available. Can we construct a school over there until some engineer comes and some labor provide their services to design the school? Shopping mall cannot be constructed in spite of having a piece of land available in the city until unless the labor is going to provide the content, labor is going to provide the labor for the construction, and even labor will not be good enough until the educated or trained person, whom you can say that an architect can give a proper idea considering all the aspects what a building is supposed to have. That is why you can say that this becomes productive. Now, large population, what we started in this chapter was considered to be liability. Still it is liability. Saying that we can convert by investing in by investing in education, training and medical care among the people, we can convert it into asset, but it's not so easy. Your book has taken an illustration to help you explain. There are two stories in the coming chapter, page number 17 and 18. One is a story of Sakal and Vilas. Another story is of Vilas. Both these students belong to Semapur village. Both these children, sorry, not student. Both these children belongs to Semapur village, where one is of 12-year age, Sakal is of 12-year age, and Vilas, if I am not wrong, is of 11-year age. You read it yourself. I am just giving a gist of this story. Both these children have initially same situation. Sakal has a family where his father, Bhuta Chaudhary, it is mentioned, is a farmer. His uncle is passed up to class 10 but has no job. His mother is housewife, but his father is very keen to let his children attaining education. Sakal happens to be a good student. He is wanting to study, so he could clear the matriculation from the village. Then his father is wanting him to pursue for higher education. He went over there, attained higher education in the field of information technology. He got a good job, and even he produced a software for the company which could increase the sale of the company, and that's why he got the promotion. This is one example. Now compare another boy who was also in a similar situation initially. His father was selling fish. After his father's death, his mother started selling fish. His mother remained sick. His mother had a problem of arthritis, a bone related problem. So due to the health problem, she could not survive because there was lack of resources in the family, and Sakal also became victim of this problem of arthritis. He also had no choice because neither he was interested in going to school nor he could get opportunity, and that's what happened actually. He end up making the same thing, that he was selling the fish only. These two example is giving us a clear picture that how if any person is imparted with education, how if any person is given a proper training to do a particular kind of work, and if they are remaining healthy, they can be good for themselves first, because they will have their better position, they will form themselves as a human capital, and they will be more productive, and because of being more productive they will be paid more. But this is what they are going for themselves. What for the society? They are going even good for the society, because all these people who are now converted into a resource, people as a resource, as a trained and educated person, as a human capital, they will be helping the society. I already gave the example, student. Now this is the reason in the another part on page 18 it is written, student, it is mentioned on page number 19, it is mentioned through the story of Vilas and Sakal, that this is why you find that your parents are wanting and eager to send you to school. You know, while sending to school, they actually incur a lot of expenditure. They pay to the school the fees, they purchase stationaries, copy, textbook for you, they purchase uniform for you, they purchase so many other things. All these are expenditure, but this is what we can assume as investment. You must have noticed that many people do make investment by purchasing a piece of land and hoping that its prices will rise in the future. This is called their investment for the sake of future profit. Many people make the purchase, do make purchasing of the share in the share market. They make investment in the mutual fund. This is also the investment for the future profit. Similarly, students, similarly, this is your education or the training on which your mummy, papa, or your parents or other member of your family do invest. Expenditure is investment. This is one of the reason your textbook has written in a paragraph that educated parents invest heavily on the children's education because they have realized the importance of education. They have understood what education can do for the particular children, how it can convert a particular child. Maybe the child, one more point is there, maybe the child who is going to attain education and training will start earning lesser compared to the one who is not so educated. But even then, the earning and made by this person who has been trained will be much higher and his life will be much better. Student, that's how I have explained the importance of, and I have repeated it again and again, that how our population can become an asset from a liability if being invested with, if being trained and imparted with education, training and medical care. That's all, students. We shall continue in the next part from the various sector of the economy. Thank you, students.